Hello, my name is Ilona, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video or not, but this is a video for the Shadowwork series, and this will have to do with looking inward instead of outside, what's going on, what's happening around the world. So this is more focused on inside and what is happening inside of ourselves. I'm sure a lot of people have been experienced for years now. So much is happening in the energy. We are clearing things outside of ourselves. We can see that in the world outside of ourselves. And we are clearing things inside of ourselves. At least we have the opportunity to do so. Not everyone does so. And that can be very tough. And especially when you are working hard with your consciousness, you're trying to, work with your energies, and you see people around you that just don't understand you, and can be very difficult to follow your own path. And I just wanted to mention this, that you don't have to be afraid of the people that are not waking up. I have noticed this, that people have this, well, they have to wake up because otherwise everything is not going to work out, and I'm going to be dragged in a timeline I don't want to be. That's not possible. Your frequency, your energy decides where you'll end up with, in what frequency, in what timeline. So you don't have to be afraid of what other people do with their energies. So you don't have to be afraid if people are waking up or not, because it's quite irrelevant. It's about your energy. Focus on your connection with God, with your intuition, with your soul, and you'll end up where you should be ending up. And I have to say, I want to talk about the timelines. I always mention this as an example. I live in a street here, and there are neighbors I've never met. I have no idea who they are, what they look like, but we do live in the same street. So if we would meet up, we would both be like, yeah, I live there. Oh, well, I live over there. So you do have some certain connection going on, but essentially you don't meet each other. And that's really what's happening with the frequencies and the so-called timelines. I believe there are many timelines. Some people say there are only 2 timelines, and I don't know. I have a feeling that it has to do with your frequency, what kind of life you'll see and you'll experience. Because I do meet sometimes people that have experienced something completely different. There are some things we'll have the same, certain events that happened, of course, in the outside world that are similar to what, of course, I have experienced. But the rest is so different, and it has to do with different frequencies. So to me, it feels like a different frequency will create like a different timeline for you. So I just wanted to mention that. And I can understand that people get frustrated in a way, because people who are not opening up, loved ones, maybe a partner, that can be very painful to realize, like, we might end up in a different frequency. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to contact them anymore, or that you won't be able to talk to them anymore. I believe that it will be possible if you have a higher frequency. And I'm not saying this as that you're better or anything, but just that you have a higher frequency. You will be able, if you want to talk to people with a lower frequency. Except they are not really capable of coming to your level. And in a way, we already experienced that. Maybe you've noticed it with family members or people you know in your environment, people you care about maybe, that you fully understand where they come from, how they view the world, but that they have no clue how you view the world. They don't understand you. And that has to do with different frequencies, because you have a different perspective, and you are capable of fully understanding their perspective. So you fully understand where they're coming from, but they don't understand you, because your frequency is just, they can't wrap their minds around it. They don't fully understand what's going on there. And if it's consciously, or they don't want to have anything to do with that, or they really don't want to, they're not respectful to your ideas or how you view things. Of course, if that happens, if people are not respecting you, even if they don't understand it, it's still necessary that they just respect that you have a different point of view. If that's not happening, please step away from these people. Keep your distance and protect your energy. Just because we understand someone doesn't give them the right to just walk all over our boundaries and all over our energy. We don't have to completely sympathize with those, with people like that, because I've had that actually happening as a pitfall when I was growing up. I fully understand why some people were saying things or were angry or frustrated with things. But the problem was that I had to put up boundaries as well, because just because I understand where someone's frustration comes from or their anger comes from or why they're acting the way they are doesn't mean that I have to accept their behavior. That's very different. So I believe it's very important that we still protect our energies and still stand up for what we believe in. There is no issue, if someone just doesn't understand you, but, is fine with, okay, that's not how I see things. That's really how people can have different perspectives. If it's, in a respectful way, there is no issue. The issue is when someone else is trying to convince you of something that you don't believe in or you don't feel that way. Then it's an issue. So you cannot forcefully wake up people. And I have to say I'm very happy with that, because then you would have a lot of power. And in essence, if you flip that around, they would have been capable. If you're capable of really waking up people against their will or their consent, they could be or should be capable of putting you back to sleep. So in a way, I think that's a very good, I say this, good plan that's not possible. We have free will. We all decide where we are going to go. So I have to say, if there are people around you just not waking up, loved ones, family, maybe colleagues, just let it be. Just let it be. And trust that you will be on the frequency you are and the timeline you'll be. And I believe they will be in their timeline, their frequencies. I'm not sure I really believe in separate timelines in that matter. I do think that you will probably go your own way if it's really necessary, but you're always capable, especially if we're entering a more spiritual life, to connect with people on different frequencies or frequencies below you, kind of, so to speak. Like I said, this is not some kind of judgment. It's just that you have certain frequencies. And there are people that are in a very high frequency, higher than my frequency. And there are people that are in lower frequency. It doesn't really matter. It's very important to understand certain frequencies is really up to you, what you do with your energy, what you do with your consciousness. And it's very important that you focus on your own energy. And really, if you want to change the world, change yourself, change your perspective. Then you'll start to see things around you. So in this card reading, and I shuffled the cards in my Dutch video, I'm going to pull 9 cards. The first 3 cards are more of the energy about this topic. The second 3 cards are about the blockades, challenges, and the last 3 cards are advice. And I thought that was very interesting. And I already mentioned I'm working now with my feelings of, unsafe. And it's very important now for me to balance that. I'm trying to ground myself. It's a process, and it's getting better and better. But it's not something that is just easily done. I just really want to get out of this place. But I know, no, I have to be here. I know I've chosen this so I can heal it. And it's very important that I feel through those feelings that come up. But sometimes I really feel very exhausted. Maybe you have that same feeling, you get out of bed and you're like, oh, I just wish I could stay in bed all day. But the first 3 cards are the energies, and this is the 8 of Pentacles, the Justice card, and the World. And this is really about working towards the balance. Also look at yourself from a distance. What's going on? What do I still need to work on? Like with my feelings of unsafe, that just really is goes very deep through my life. That feeling of unsafe, most likely from past lifetimes, maybe even future lifetimes, because it's also very important with all these timelines. Ultimately, there is no time, so everything is happening now. So people should realize that as well. And I think, especially if we become more and more aware of our spiritual, nature, that we are spiritual beings in a human experience, we'll be able to really shift things and change things. So we never have to be afraid that we won't be able to contact people. I believe we'll even be able to contact people that already passed and left the earth plane. So I think a lot of things will happen, but this is where we want to go, to this new, beautiful world. And we need to just step back and look at ourselves. We need to focus on ourselves. That is what we have to do here. That is the Great Awakening. Work on things that still don't, not working out well. Maybe there's still things like old pains coming up. See it as a chance to heal, not as something to throw you off guard, and not something to, set you back. See it as something so you can spiritually grow, and we can really create this beautiful new world we're really longing for. So it's very important. This is the energy from these cards. It's about stepping back, look at yourself, bring balance to yourself. And these are the interesting cards. These are the challenges. And this is the Ace of Cups, the Emperor, and we have Temperance. And this is very, very interesting. Again, a balance card. It's about balancing things. And it's really about maybe I should explain a little bit about my own feelings of unsafe. I was brought up, I've mentioned this before, where there was no room for feelings and emotions. So I didn't know how to deal with them. I'm very sensitive. But to protect myself, I really start living from my head. So I start controlling things. More of the masculine energy, so to speak. So I would really, do things. So if something happened in my life that would, hurt me or something, I would start analyzing it. Well, what can I do? How can I fix this? So that was kind of my attitude. And I'm noticing now that, of course, this comes from the feeling of being unsafe, that I'm not safe. So I have to protect myself. I need control. I need to make sure I control everything. So how am I going to do this? And I notice now that for me, it's very important to let go, to really bringing more of that feminine energy. And I'm talking about the female energy, the pure female energy, and the pure masculine energy, and not the toxic parts. You have toxic masculine energy, and then I'm talking about the hard, men have to be tough, and they have to do this, and they can't cry, and they can't show their emotions. And that's more of the extreme part of that masculine energy, because really, if the masculine energy, the pure masculine energy, is really about expressing yourself, stepping into your power, making decisions. It's a very pure, beautiful energy. And the same thing is with the female energy. The pure female energy is really letting go, flowing with things, knowing when to let go, listen to your intuition, listen to your feelings, your emotions. And it's important to balance that. Of course, you also have the toxic female energy as well. And that's claiming people, manipulating people emotionally, trying to control in that way. That's a very toxic energy as well. And those are the extreme energies. But ultimately, it's a very pure energy, both the masculine and the feminine. And it's very important that we balance things. So I'm noticing that it's very important for me to let go and to surrender, especially with this feeling of unsafety, that I can just feel it. Because ultimately, that is my wound. That is my... that hurts so much, that feeling of unsafety. And then I start reacting by trying to gain control of the situation. And it's very important that I just feel through it so I can connect again. And that's also the challenge for a lot of people, to connect with our emotions, our feelings, and to balance it with the masculine energy. Because in essence, a lot of people are living from their heads. There are, and not everyone, there are also people living from the emotions. So they are very dramatic and they are all over the place. And then in that case, it's very important they start more using their mind, because it's about the balance. Living really truly from your intuition is the balance between your mind and your heart. And of course, sometimes I will mention living from your heart, but essentially I mean living from your soul. It's the similar with the living from your heart and making decisions from your heart. So that goes beyond feelings and emotions. It's really your intuition, your soul. But it's about balancing that, balancing those, the mind, the heart, And I think we're seeing that around the world, and it's very important that we balance it. That will be the challenge for a lot of, I think, for everyone, to really balance that. And like I've mentioned also in my Dutch video, I think there is a beautiful saying in English: choose your battles wisely. And it's really about, when do you stand up for yourself? When do you step into the masculine power? Because that's the masculine energy. Using power here, but you could also talk about female power. But the masculine energy, when it's important to set your ground, you know, stand up for yourself, and when is it important to let go, to flow with things and to surrender. You really need to find a balance in that, because if you're only surrendering, you know, you have people that are like, everything's going to be fine, I'm just going to let go, the universe will decide for me. And then they're kind of flowing and they're all over the place because they really are not stepping into the masculine energy and making decisions of their own. And of course, you also have the other side, when especially when I still have that tendency to just analyze things. Okay, I have to do this, and this, and there's this issue, and I have to do. And as you can see in my voice, I get more animated in the more masculine sense, so to speak. But it's very important we start to balance that, knowing when to let go, when to contact, you know, our intuition, when to listen to that, but also knowing when to start expressing ourselves, when to put up boundaries. It's very important we create a balance. That balance is so important between the feminine energy and the masculine energy in ourselves. That's when we truly heal, and that's when we will see this beautiful new world. And the last three cards are the King of Cups, the High Priestess, and the Seven of Pentacles. And this is really the advice. Take your time. Don't be afraid that you're going to miss the boat. Don't be afraid you're going to miss a deadline. Ultimately, there is no time, so take your time. Just with working with your energy and your consciousness, you are already healing yourself. You are already going to start seeing things change in your world, and trust that process. Deal on a mature way with your emotions and your feelings, and listen to your intuition. Very important. I was brought up in this, more of a system where the focus is on, doing things more like the intellect, analyze. And we need to really bring in that feminine energy of realizing when we should sit back and just let things, happen, and when to step up. Very important that we understand the difference, and we can only truly understand it if we live from our intuition, our connection with God, and our connection with our soul. But really, it's very important to deal with our emotions and our feelings in a mature way. Bring them in balance with our minds. There's nothing wrong with our mind. It can help us, but it shouldn't take over. Just living in your emotions and your feelings isn't the best balance either. It should all be aligned so we can live from our intuition, create the world we truly want. But be patient with yourself. Don't think you need to rush things. Don't think you're just going to, you're not going to make it or something like that, because that will create, again, a lower frequency of fear. So feel through that. If you have that fear, maybe in a past lifetime, something happened and you should have acted. It's very possible that it comes from older pains that will come up now. But it's time now to heal. There is no time. You are a spiritual being in a human experience. You are eternal. Don't be afraid of that. But feel through it. And I'd like to leave it at this and hope to see you in another video.